Mo, even just talking to you offline, I'm like, you're my cup of tea. I am so thrilled and excited for this conversation. Before we dive into it, I mean, you help solopreneurs day in and day out, similar to what we do. I want to know, what do you wish you had known before you became a solopreneur?
Um, I first of all, I wish I knew that I was already a solopreneur because I look at solopreneurship a little bit different than most people. So, um, I didn't know that I could turn my value into a brand. I thought to be a solo brand, a personal brand, a solo operator, you have to be super talented musician, actor, comedian, artist, athlete, chef, something like that. And I was like, why the hell is anyone going to care about my personal brand? So, what I wish I knew is there's no negative ROI on your personal brand, and you should start building it as soon as possible. Cool.
That is such good information. I mean, I feel like we're just gonna have little nuggets of wisdom like that because, like I said, you work with solopreneurs day in and day out. You are one, so I'm kind of like, let's just pick your brain about what you've learned and what you know, and say how we can apply it to other people. Well, but let's start with your personal journey. How did you go from bankruptcy and burnout to 50K plus months on your own, and with your really cool lifestyle, by the way?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I still don't know what I'm doing. Here's what I'll. Okay. So, to succeed in life, I think you need to know three things: how to position yourself properly to the market. Really, the only thing we care about is the market. How do you position yourself, even if you're looking for a job? How do you position yourself properly in the job market? If you're looking for a new football team, how do you position yourself properly to the football teams? It's the same idea. So how do I position myself properly to get the attention of the people I want and to get them to see what I want them to see? That's the first thing we have to learn. The second thing is, how do we then test the market and adapt to the market? Because the market changes. It's a million variables, constantly changing. There's no one, this is how it is, and this is how the market works. There's no such thing. So it's how do we adapt to the feedback from the market? Because she will give you feedback very quickly, and you need to be able to adapt to the feedback to be able to then manipulate the market in as much as you can, or work within the market forces, let's say. So marketing, we can say, right? And then the third thing is persuasion. How do I get people to do the things I want them to do? And I think anyone should want to learn all three, no matter what you want to do in your life. And so all I did was try to upskill myself, my competence in those three areas. And I kept doing that. And until I got here, and I'll keep doing that until I get to wherever the next place is.
Very cool.
Yeah, you obviously have a resilient mindset too. You're like, I'm just gonna keep going. Like, whatever, I'm gonna keep going. How can people get that mindset?
Okay, so here's the caveat. I don't have kids. I don't have any dependencies. No one relies on me for anything. That's liberating in many ways because, and also I'm quite happy to live under a bridge. And I don't mean that literally, because if things don't work out, I think I can walk into a fast food joint or a bar and get a job. And I think I can probably work my way up to manager pretty quickly. So the worst case scenario, I'll be working in an industry I love. I love hospitality and I love being hospitable. So worst case scenario, I'll be working in hospitality, an industry that I love, probably in a really good job. So it's like, so what does it matter if I fail? Real quick on this, I watched Seinfeld when he got his pilot agreed by NBC. He was on the Letterman show doing that 5-minute stand-up sketch that he used to do. And he went backstage and he told Letterman, I got my pilot. Any advice? And Letterman said, don't let them change anything. And Seinfeld said, what do you mean? He goes, don't let them change even a word on your script, a character, a detail. Don't let them change. Do it your way. And Seinfeld said, why are you saying that? And he said, because if you fail, you failed your way and you can sleep at night. And so the resilient mindset for me is, as long as I do it my way, I'm happy with the consequences, whether good or bad.
That's like so true.
Well, you're just so refreshing. I'm like, I want to ask you random questions and go rogue and just see what comes out of your mouth.
Go road, Carly, do it.
You've talked about having like 50K months, which is like achievable, not always the norm. But why do you think, in terms of an offer that converts to make those kinds of sales, why do you believe expertise is all you need? Or what do you need?
Well, it depends on, so you know how at the beginning we talked about positioning and marketing and persuasion. You need expertise in those three things,
Right.
not just expertise. Now, so how to build a successful business? You need to be able to get people to pay you, and then you need to give them what they paid you for.
Ta-da!
Expertise is I can give you what you paid for, but if I can't get you to pay me, then what's the point? I'm not going to make money. So the expertise, I think, is twofold. It's, do I know how to get customers? And then do I know how to deliver what they paid for? And if you're an expert of both, you are an independent solopreneur.
Let me ask you your opinion, though. So imagine you've got two different experts, right? And expert A is 50% as good as expert B, but expert A is really good at those three things,
Yeah.
right? Who's going to make more money?
Well, long term, it depends on what the 50%. Look,
Is 50% good enough?
well, I don't know, because the good enough is, what am I paying you for? Like, if I go to McDonald's, is the Big Mac good enough as a burger? Or do you sit and say, no, the burger should be gourmet and it should have fresh
No,
mushrooms?
but
It's like,
my point is just, if 50% of B is good enough for what people, if it's going to solve people's problems,
gets you the outcome. If
right?
it gets you the outcome you want,
That's all it
in
takes.
the way you want it to, then you're going to leave a testimonial or a review that says, he got me what I wanted. That's ultimately what we want. We want the clients to say, I paid for something and I got it. That's what we need to end up with, right? That he gave me what I wanted. You know, I see a lot of these testimonials, Joe, where, oh, I really enjoyed working with Moe. He was a great coach. It's like, what was the outcome? Oh, I really enjoyed Carly's process. It's like, but what was the outcome?
Right. What did I get? What
Did I
changed?
get at the end? I don't care if Carly was a nice person. Did she get me the thing that I wanted to get? You know what I mean? Like, it's like saying in a restaurant, I went to the steakhouse and the seats were comfortable. It's like, how was the steak? How was the service? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to know that part. I want to know if you got what you wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think is the secret? I mean, I guess you kind of just answered it, but what do you think is the secret to sustainable growth for solopreneurs?
You have to keep growing. You know, it's this idea that, like, let's say inflation's 9%, which means if your revenue growth is less than 9%, you're losing money. You're what's the opposite of growing?
Shrinking.
You're shrinking, right? So I think it's the same in competence, because people are always upskilling. It's not like, if I don't upskill this year, no one's going to catch up or overtake me. It's like everyone's upskilling. So I think to grow is to grow your competence in those four things we talked about: persuasion, marketing, positioning, and your craft. And if you keep growing that faster than the competition, you're going to grow faster than the competition.
It's so funny because when you say it, it's like, well, yeah, but people don't actually think through it like that. You know what I mean? Like, you just put it in such simple terms that are so applicable. It's so practical. And yet there will be listeners that are like, so what should I do next? You know what I mean? Like, but it really is so simple. Like, you really could just break it down.
There's a simplicity that's still not easy to necessarily do. The idea is simple, but the process of thinking through, how do I position myself? Simple idea, not always easy in practice. In fact, we're still doing it here. We're still positioning, figuring out how we want to place this business.
Well, simple is often the hardest thing to do. Simplicity. You think about music, you think about fashion, you think about food, right? It's often the simple things that are really hard to achieve, because you like, let's say a singer on stage performing on their own is a lot harder than if you have backing vocals, backing
That's right.
singers, and a band and dancers, and because you're kind of taking the attention away from your limitations, your vulnerabilities, right. So I think simplicity is the hardest thing to do, and simple is not easy. Here's the thing, though, in terms of like what you said about how do I, right? You have to learn these topics, and the easiest way to learn the topics is to go and find the 5 best books on each topic. And these people that say, I read 52 books this year, 1 a week. It's like, you didn't learn anything, probably, because it takes me like 6 months to learn a book,
Yeah.
sometimes longer. You know what I mean? So the education process is, I think, what people get wrong.
I learned to speed read years and years ago, and I was able to get through books really quickly, but it was never effective. And then I read a book, I'll go in a page and a half, put it down, go to the computer, do some writing or thinking about that. And
Perfect.
yeah, it makes all the difference. Makes all the difference.
Richard Bach said, you teach best what you want to learn. So every time I read something, I call a friend or I try and send a voice note to Sarah on my team, and I say, I just got this new idea. I'm going to explain it to you. And as I'm explaining, I go, oh shit, I don't know. Oh, damn, I don't know enough about this, or I didn't explain it properly because I'm not 100%. You know what I mean? So you teach best what you want to learn, I think. And so teach it to even yourself, or go and write down something, or figure out how to put it into practice. You know, it's like I tell people it's an apprenticeship that you need, not education. You need to learn while doing. That's what you need to do, I think.
We're in the process of, we've written and now we're editing Solopreneur Business for Dummies for Wiley. And what?
I need one.
Well, I mean, the Dummies books, it's a really great format. But anyway, but the fact is, writing it, I was like, okay, I already know I've already got all this material. I'm just going to put it in Dummies format. And that is not what happened at all. It was like all kinds of new insights. The first chapter we wrote, I ended up completely rewriting that chapter in part of the editing process, like just completely reverse engineered my part of it, because with just so much growth went on, just writing something I had already written. I've just not written it in that Dummies format, but then thinking through, coming back to it, figuring out how to explain it, and it's completely different and thankfully better than it was before.
Well, it's why I create content on social media. It's to test my ideas out, really. It's not to generate virality or any of this stuff. It's like I want to say something and I want to see how it lands.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I mean, everything can be improved. Everything. There's nothing that's perfect, in my opinion. So I think we got to keep working at it and see what happens.
Have you ever tried a really good slice of pizza? I don't know if that can always be improved.
Oh, there's always that one pizza from way back when at that place that's gone because Salvatore died.
Right. Well, okay. So Mo, like you said, like you work with solopreneurs day in, day out. What do you think is the biggest mistake you see time and time again?
This idea that I don't have to go, the metaphor is fishing. I want fish, my clients, but I don't want to go fishing. It's like, so what do you want? The fish to come and knock on your door? You want the fish to just jump in your boat? And that's this idea about passive income and all this nonsense. You know what I mean? It's like what makes passive income? What? Like great books and great music. That's probably it. Like Freddie Mercury, We Are the Champions is passive income because that song's just going to be played everywhere for the rest of the time and he's going to get paid royalties or whoever owns his rights. Like it's just such a dumb idea that I can do nothing and I'm going to create something so good that it's going to stand the test of time and make me money forever.
You're right, because it's been done, but so hasn't Freddie Mercury. There's famous singers, famous actors, and some people have made a lot of passive income without working hard. But it's not any easier than becoming a famous actor or a famous musician.
No. And when people tell me, Joe, I make a passive income, I want to understand, show me how, right? Because a lot of the times there's parts of it that's passive.
Right.
You're still branding yourself. You're still doing things. You're still, you know what I mean? So I think this is the lazy idea. And here's the thing. If you know how to fish, then you can try and figure out the shortcuts. The mistake, Carly, to your question is, I'm not going to learn how to fish. And I'm going to go and find shortcuts to getting the fish. Learn how to fish, then delegate or find someone else to do it or decide you don't want to do it. But this idea that I don't want to learn how to go fishing when that's your job is to go and find customers as a solopreneur. By the way, this is what I say to people. If you don't have customers, your only job as a solopreneur is to find customers.
Yeah, it's so true. And yet again, so simple. Well, okay. So in the sake of simplicity, you have a 6-figure freedom framework, if I'm not mistaken. What is that?
It's a mouthful. That's what that
It's
is.
right.
I coined Solopreneur Success Sessions, which I've regretted ever since as one of our event names.
So here's the idea behind it. The freedom is not just from the money, although as you spoke earlier, it's a big part of it. That's the 6-figure part, right? The framework is this idea that I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you what you need to figure out. That's why it's a framework, not a process. So again, how are you going to position yourself in the market is my question. Now you're going to have to figure that out, or I can help you figure it out. How are you going to test the market with your offer? You might not know how to build an offer, how to test the market. I might help you, but you need to answer that question. That's the framework. How do I engage with people about my offer and then persuade them? So the acronym's POOP, which is position, offer, outreach, persuasion.
I just can't tell you how much I and my 4-year-old granddaughter love that.
No, I've known you for a half hour, maybe 45 minutes now at this point between our other conversation. And that just seems so on brand. I am just like, he would. That would mine. He would.
My outreach framework was called caca, which means poop so that's my outreach framework. But that's the 6-figure freedom framework. If you figure out those 4 things, you will get to 6 figures. And then poops, if you want to scale, that's what gets you to 7 figures. The scale part is post 50, 60 grand a month.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. And I cannot wait to put your framework acronym in our show notes. That will be
You're going to put
amazing.
your poop, you're going to get your poop in order, Carleary's?
Put it down on paper. Mo, so for people that are like scrambling right now and they feel like they're working day in and day out, what's a quick win for people to escape that being busy trap and freeing up some of that time or using their time for things that
You got me thinking now about relationship with time. I struggle with time. I don't even know if it really exists, to be honest with you.
Well, technically it doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that's a different podcast, maybe. But
no, it's definitely a physics podcast. But
the question I ask about time is, do I have the time to do what? So here, my definition of solopreneur is not solo entrepreneur or solo business owner. My definition of solopreneur is I'm living life on my own terms, unashamedly, without having to ask anyone's permission. That's my definition of a solopreneur.
Well, that's our definition too. So
perfect.
100%. 100%.
So the time question is, do I have the time to live life on my own terms? That's the only question. And what's taking my time away that's not helping me to live life on my own terms? So for example, when I look at my calendar and I go, oh my God, why am I meeting them? That's some form of time that I want to win back because I don't want to be meeting these people at that time. And it's the same with tasks and all that stuff. So I think this is an answer to your question. When you get good at something, then it's delegatable. When you get good at something and you learn it, then it's delegatable. Why? Because you know how to do it, which means you can manage the delegation and you can hold them to account for how well they delegated, how well they did the task. And this is what people make a mistake on. They delegate the stuff they don't know how to do, which means you can't hold them to account for a certain standard because you've never done it. It's like someone who's never sold and he says, Joe, you're my sales guy and you have to close 1 in 3 deals and blah, blah. It's like, how do you know that if you've never done it? So, and then the other advantage of that is you want to give away the stuff you know how to do so you can spend time on the stuff you don't know how to do, which means you're constantly, the thing we talked about earlier about how do you keep growing is to grow your competence. So that's where you buy time. And ultimately, there's going to be a point where you've increased your competence so much and you've delegated so much of what you need to do that you got so much time back and you're getting better results than you were getting to begin with. There's going to be a point where that happens, for sure.
So I want to challenge you a little bit because I get what you're saying and I get the logic, but I just, one of the things that I learned a while back was that I have some things I'm good at and some things I'm not good at. And these are things that I will never be good at. And I'll
Example? Example, Joe?
anything that requires anything related to clerical organizing, paperwork, bookkeeping, anything like that that requires this kind of organized approach. You describe yourself as a mad scientist, and
You know how to do it, though, Joe. You know how to organize it.
I guess I just can't do it well. And
Okay, fair.
and,
I agree
and,
with
and
I
I
agree.
and I found wonderful people to help me, like, with respect to organizing everything and doing the bookkeeping, accounting, tax stuff. And I do not understand the U.S. tax code at all. And when I get my
Fair.
tax returns for my businesses or even my personal ones, I just sign them because I don't have a
Fair.
clue and I
It's the
don't have
same
the
as
time.
law. It's the same as law. I'm not telling you to go and learn law before
Yeah.
you get a lawyer. That's a fair. So I'll stand corrected. In the craft of yours, in persuasion, in marketing, and in positioning,
Okay.
4 things we talked about, you don't want to delegate anything until you've learned it.
Okay. Good.
Fair?
I'm glad I asked. Yeah, fair. Yeah, glad I asked.
Because I can go back to even the hairdresser thing. Well, I'm not going to delegate to my hairdresser unless I learn how to cut hair. Of course not. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Like how we
Especially
sit
your
with
own
back.
hair. That's hard. I remember during COVID, my hair
COVID.
got long, and I'm like, I'm going to cut my hair. And I sat there with the mirror with the scissors going, this is not going to go well. And my wife saved me.
It's absolutely right. That's a absolutely fair challenge. And the thing is, you don't have to be a good musician or a musician even to know good music. You don't have to be a good chef to appreciate good food or a movie producer to appreciate a good movie. I think with things like admin, it's also like that. You can appreciate good admin and spot it and challenge bad admin without needing to be good at it. I think that's one of those that fits in there.
Okay.
Fun. Mo, we could literally talk to you all day. You're just the coolest guy. We have to end at some point. So you help solopreneurs find success. We always ask our guests this question. What is your favorite quote about success?
Success is like the rent. It needs to be paid every month.
Wow.
Ooh,
That's-
elaborate.
Never heard that one before.
You don't just achieve success. It's a state.
It's a
So you're
process.
successful here, and you have to either maintain it or get another form of success. There's no permanent success.
That's a new one. Good stuff.
American football coach. I can't remember who. I'm not even going to guess.
Probably.
Said that.
I mean, it has to be.
It's not Vince Lombardi or one of those. It's
Yeah.
someone that doesn't have any other good quotes because I went and looked them up, and I was like, that's the only. It might have even been a player, not a coach. I don't know, but you guys can look it up. Success is like the rent. I think the quote is success is like the rent. It's due every month. I think that's the quote.
Okay, perfect. Well, Mo, this has been so insightful. You're just great. Where can people find you to learn more?
You can Google Moe. There's only one Moe Choice. So you can Google Moe Choice. LinkedIn is where I hang out the most. And I've got something for your audience if they would like. I run a live masterclass where I teach the framework, the 6-figure framework. I give you the framework. I explain to you how it works. I show you how successful it was and how it is and how it has been. And I run this once every few weeks. So if you go to Moe Choice, moechoice.com/podcast, you can sign up. And for your guests who sign up to that, they'll get 2 other bonuses as well. It's explained on the landing page, and they can sign up for my masterclass. And then you can see me deliver live my 6-figure freedom framework.
All right.
So nice of you to do. We will include all that in the show notes. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please leave that 5-star review, share this episode with a friend, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. And we will see you next time on The Aspiring Solopreneur.